Well, hey everybody, I'm Charm Riplin with a double feature of two horror movies that I recently saw on Netflix, and spoiler alert, they were both shit. The first one was a whole lot, dumber and more moronic than the other one, and even though the second one wasn't all that good, it looked good by comparison, though The Haunting of Sharon Tate is still my least favorite movie of the year, and I'm actually trying to watch as many 2019 releases as I possibly can to make sure that I make my end of year shows a whole lot of fun, so I'm watching the best of the best and the worst of the worst. And holy fuck, this one was bad. Have you seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Literally any of them. It doesn't matter even if it's the one of the three Invasion of the Body Snatchers versions. Have you seen The Invasion? Have you seen anything about creatures or aliens taking over the human race, cloning them, whatever, and trying to take over the world? Congratulations, you've seen Assimilate. It's from the director of Santa with Muscles. We are in so much fucking trouble. Once I saw that, I was like, oh boy, oh boy. I had to look 3 times at his IMDb to make sure I was looking at the right thing, and it is. I mean, look, you gotta start somewhere and you gotta take whatever project, but fucking hell, you also could have maybe not ripped off, like, just like copy and pasted, like, everything, including a few things I'm gonna get into here in a little bit, but it's set in a small Missouri town. 2 boys are filming a web series. This is what life is like in a small town, they say. And then they come across one of their neighbors, woman that's, a depressed housewife and everything. And she, gets some fruit out of her yard, and there's these weird bugs crawling around and stuff like that. What are these weird bugs? We haven't seen these before. Geez, these can't factor into things later in the movie. Oh wait, yes they can, because then they suddenly see weird things happening at night. These creatures running out and attacking people. And then suddenly things are just like people are getting replaced. They're getting replaced by people that look human, that act human, but really aren't human at all. They're creatures or aliens or whatever. You never really find out what the deal is. You never find out if it's aliens or just creatures that came from the depths of the earth or whatever. But you know what? It doesn't really fucking matter because it's fucking bullshit. The acting is, I don't want to say necessarily subpar, because when you have actors, whether they're no name or they're well known, there's a couple actors I've seen before in other movies. You can only do so much with this much goddamn material. So these two friends did not have southern accents. Now, I don't know a ton about Missouri, but I would imagine a vast majority of people would have some kind of southern accent to them. And they didn't, and the girl that they befriended, that one of the guys was friends with, didn't have a southern accent, but others did. And then others didn't. It was really, really bizarre. I was like really confused. I go, did they forget what state they were filming in? Were they filming it in Canada and just pretending it was in Missouri? I don't fucking know. There were a lot of cliches, pointless stuff, a lot of sneaking around the dark. There was one point where they see that same neighbor where they saw all the bugs crawling around. They go to help her. This creature leaps out of the wall because this creature had bit her. And it turns out these creatures bite you. They go and clone themselves to become you, and then they get rid of your body. And yeah, you just get a lot of pointless shit with the 2 best friends and the one girl that is trying to rescue her brother from the very obviously possessed family and everything. And even the sheriff is like, no, I can't take him away because they're clearly not, weird people, even though they totally fucking are. And just, the town gets taken over. There's a whole bunch of bullshit. There's a lot of dramatic scene, and the creatures can be killed by stabbing them with a shovel at one point. There's this one scene where this one mother gets cloned, and the creature gets killed when you stab him with a shovel. You can't hit him with a shovel. You can't hit him over the head, but nope, you stab him, and that's it. Okay. Logic. Lovely. So, there was this one point where all these, clone people tip over this trailer. It's trailer tipping, like cow tipping, but for idiots. Oh boy, God, Jesus. This movie, they even did at one point, the girl's going to get her smaller brother from being assimilated, there's the title, into this group. And the creatures figure out, the people that are taking over figure out that she's not one of the creatures because she does this tear thing where, they don't cry, that kind of stuff. And one of the creatures screams the exact same kind of scream they did Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I'm just like, I was already giving up on the movie anyway. I was like, okay, you know what? This could be worse. And then the scream happened. I go, it got worse. Fuck this movie. Fuck anybody that came up with the concept of it. You guys are goddamn rip-off people. Good Lord, you guys are goddamn rip-off artists. There was one point in this one scene where they had this open window in this door, and then suddenly the window was whole again. Now I don't know. Maybe it was a different door. Maybe they time traveled. I don't have a fucking clue. But it was silly. They took footage of all this stuff happening. All this stuff, this pastor unleashing this creature, because the pastor was taken over, and all these people taking over the town. They upload it to YouTube, and it turns out that they were the last town, that they weren't the first town, that everybody got taken over and stuff like that. No, there's a little bit of a resistance because some of the comments on YouTube were like, hey, there's a few of us here, a few of us here. So it hinted at a sequel. Do not give us Assimilate 2, Electric Boogaloo. This movie was shit. It was absolute shit. I fucking hated it. It was rotten. I knew that it was going to be bad, but I'm like, holy shit. I thought, okay, Invasion of the Body Snatchers ripoff, whatever. I've seen worse things. I saw The Haunting of Sharon Tate. I've seen other movies that were bad. This movie actually kind of offended me, which is sad because the acting, the acting really wasn't all that great. It was pretty subpar, but again, if you have very little material, what the fuck are you going to do? If I forget to put a poll up there, please let me know what you guys thought in the comments. So, now we move on to First Summoning. You like found footage? Well, congratulations, because you're gonna love this. Except this isn't a good kind of found footage. This is basically, student filmmakers. You got one guy that's the main guy in there. I believe his name is Mark. I didn't commit these names to memory because none of these characters were important. The girl was cute, and then she at least had a little bit of a character, so that was kind of nice. And then you got two friends. They go into the Ozark mountains, or outside of the city of Ozark. If you know what Ozark is, it's Arkansas, Ozarkansas, if you will. And they talk to the locals about something called the Millbrook Factory, which is an abandoned factory that was apparently built on some grounds where some satanic rituals took place, as one does with any facility. Hey, it's like, hey, you think we should check out the history of this land before we build this thing here? No reason. There's no satanic rituals that happened. What? Nothing. Sign the papers. I'll take over. That's probably how that deal happened. So, they first come into this town, and everything is so goddamn creepy from the beginning. It's a small town. They go to this church. The pastor is very obviously in on this whole goddamn thing. They even mention this. The main guy mentions how there's this ritual that takes place on October 6th, and if you do it in the right place at the right time at midnight in this facility and recite this particular verse, you can get something. You can get wealth, or you can get your wish granted, but a sacrifice has to be made. The pastor tells a story about a guy wanting his wife to be well, but he had to sacrifice his 3 children at the barracks, or whatever the whole thing is called, where you put your arms through and you put your head through, and it's like the torture thing where it's like, people are just left the wood barracks, or the wood stocks, I think is what they were called. Again, they didn't commit a whole lot of this stuff to memory because they kind of glossed over a whole bunch of this. So all this is film found footage, and the main guy is very obviously off his goddamn rocker. At one point he suggests to the one guy that has a busted leg, hey, go into this church and get these records that we weren't allowed to see. So he goes in there, gets the stuff. He's filming this whole thing because, of course, you have to film it. You can't put the motherfucking camera down at all. And manages to get some records and get some stuff on film, and then sees this old lady, and this old lady's screaming at him to get out, and this kind of stuff. And it turns out to be the pastor's mother, I assume. I don't know. And then the pastor's even staying in the goddamn road, and they freak out, and they run out the goddamn thing. What did you think was going to happen? You're in an RV, probably one of the only moving vehicles that town has seen in a while. What did you think was going to happen? Oh, boy. And then the main guy ends up having a nosebleed. Maybe the stress is getting to him. Maybe he's in on this whole goddamn thing of this whole satanic cult and what's going on and whatnot. And he wants to do a ritual where you can get something, but you have to sacrifice something. And there are 3 other people with him. I wonder what's gonna happen. Clearly, they're all gonna do a dance off and do a musical number, or they're all gonna die horribly. God, they didn't die soon enough. That's all I'm gonna say. And we get a cheating backstory thing between one of the friends and the girl, the only girl that's in on this whole thing. They were together, and then they agreed to be friends, and then she cheated on her boyfriend, this crazy guy that wants to keep doing this film, that wants to make it his magnum opus, and that thing kind of gets dropped off the goddamn wagon. They're earlier at the cemetery where they see this like jewelry and pots and stuff like that, and it's very obvious that all this stuff isn't quite right and everything. They broke into the cemetery, and one of the necklaces that one of them took ends up in their pocket, even though they threw it away, or they say they threw it away, but they actually kept it. One guy throws it out the goddamn thing, or throws it out the goddamn door, the window and everything, and then the driver's side door. Well, later the thing ends up back in there, back in the vehicle. So he's like, shit. He tries to flush it in an RV toilet that already isn't really meant to be flushed, especially while you're moving. And it breaks down the whole damn thing. And suddenly they're broke down outside this facility, just over the mountain or just over a hill. And they got to go do this ritual. This guy's bound and determined to do this ritual. Oh, and he starts puking up black stuff, and he starts doing a whole bunch of stuff. And because why not? Why not keep doing this shit? Because obviously he's fucking possessed or crazy. They go to the facility. There's satanic writings on the wall. There's all this bullshit and everything going on. They got a ritual. One guy won't recite the poem, or the saying, even though he's supposed to. The girl recites the saying, and then suddenly everything goes out of whack. Mark disappears, the crazy guy, and then satanic people are there and start chasing them down. Cultists and all that. And that's about only where the movie picks up, because they actually did some good shit with that, where the guys suddenly popped out of nowhere, or the women. I don't judge, because I don't know, because they were all in hoods and masks and stuff like that. And everybody just hooded figures, and everybody makes dumb decisions, like not immediately leaving the facility. And they decide to cosplay as the cultists to get out. But then it turns out that they can see that, because they recognize who's the cultist and who isn't. No one escapes. They all get put in the stocks, and then somebody that's in a mask and everything, because they find Mark a little bit later, but then they get caught. They get put in these stocks, and they end up getting beheaded. I wonder who the guy in the mask is. It was obviously Mark. They don't show it, but it was obviously Mark. Yeah, first summoning. Hopefully the last summoning. This was really bad. The thing is, though, there were a few shots that weren't actually that bad. The night scenes were decent. I don't necessarily like the shaky found footage cam stuff. But really, this one compared to Assimilate was actually... It was bad, but it wasn't nearly as bad, so I'm going to say D. It was a pretty shit movie, but there were some moments, like sometimes found footage isn't that bad. This one was on the worst side, but not the worst one I've seen. One of the worst ones I've seen was Atrocious. You seen Atrocious? I'm sorry. D. Again, if I forget to put a poll up there, please let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. More movie reviews will be coming up, within the coming weeks. And recaps and like end of year recaps by the end of 2019. Might even do it at the beginning of 2020. Who knows? Anyway, I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.